Greetings everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and we've returned back to the horror visual novel called The Letter. Now, if it was me choosing this, I would say I'd feel better if I don't have to worry about you. But all the time through this Let's Play, I have always been selecting the top option all the time. So we're going to be just going through that regardless, even if I feel like it's going to decrease the friendship with Zachary. So, Zachary is just normal, so if I select this, it goes down, yeah. There are only two ways this will end. I agree with him and take him with me, or I agree with him and drop the idea altogether. Neither appeals more than the other, especially when we're all desperate for answers. So, a lie. To keep the few people I have out of harm's way, you'll only get in the way. Understandably, his expression swiftly changes from worry to indignation. Perhaps he's even livid. What am I not expecting is for him suddenly grab me by the collar and hoist me from my seat. Sometimes I forget Zach is capable of violence as any other man, but I hold my ground and remain firm in my decision. This is no longer up for discussion. I dare you to say that again, Ash. Say it again, say it to my face. Do it look like I'm kidding. I'm not going in there for a stroll, Zach. And if you were heard is true, then it's just another reason for me to look into it and for you to stay here. I can't take you with me just because you asked. This isn't how this works. How does it go then? How is this any different from what you've been telling us not to do? You didn't listen to me when I explicitly, very explicitly, told you not to do anything stupid. How can you expect I'll trust you with this, when you couldn't even follow a simple instruction like that? Stop it with your annoyance, Ashton. I know this ain't just about that. You've trusted me with even more confidential stuff before, more than you did with Rebecca. What makes this any different now, huh? Is accepting other people's help that difficult for you? It's not your help that I need, Zach. It's knowing that you're safe. That you're all safe, away from whatever risk I'm about to jump into. Sadly, the whole of it never makes it out. G chooses the next moment to show up, slamming the flat of his palm on the counter and shooting both of us a stern look. Although his tone is nothing short of jovial, the disapproval is clear in it. Boys, drama's nice and all. I used to watch these bloody god-awful afternoon serials with one of my brothers many years ago. But listen, I am not having one in my pub, alright? You two want to fight? Go out. Zach's hold on me loosens in a queeze. Yeah, if it was me personally, it would be more of a worrying case, but hopefully you'll end up with a different result with Zachary having some sort of understanding. Zachary's arrival interrupted Ashton's conversation with G. Left alone, the two attempted to mend things between them, only for things to turn sour again after Ashton reveals his plans to return to the mansion. At the end of it, Ashton turned away from a furious Zachary. And like every little truth I hold, whatever I'm about to say dies from my tongue at G's reprimands. In the end, I'm just a coward who could never bring myself to be honest. I'd like to think it's better this way. Better than we part on unclear terms, so Zach won't have to see every little insecurity, every little doubt in me right now. He's seen enough. The last thing I want him to glimpse is another display of weakness, not when he still stares at me with the same unerring confidence in his eyes. Before anything can be said further, before more wounding words are uttered, I step away from them, mumbling a lame excuse about taking another quick nap under my breath, altogether burying the stray thought that flashes fleetingly in my mind. Zach has seen me at my lowest plenty of times. Why does all of it matter now? The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the partners usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover, after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too cold. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind. Something wrong, G? G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements, and only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher and sleeping in class again. Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place, but you might want to check on your friend's kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out. Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement. Alone, you know we can't just go in there. But we don't have any other choice, Becca. There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just... Isabelle, no. That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabelle, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over after all of us have gotten a decent rest. I should have expected it won't be as easy when my little talk with Zach this morning almost turned into a fist fight. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it, in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible. There's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes, as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabelle's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zach or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working. You know how I run this pub, kid? No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your face. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument. It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless. Sorry about this, G. He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking. Whatever keeps the brain at work. I'll leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabelle's. But part of me wants to thank him for all of the trouble he has taken for people he barely even know. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a storm both of them will regret, and I know both of them will. Excuse me. For all of Isabelle's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanour, it's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of a pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of a brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's cross. I can't speak for Isabelle, I rarely ever see her see thing, but from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant. The way she's glaring up at Redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy, a conversation that turned sour sometime after a late lunch. Then, good thing they're already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Because in the next moment before I approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabelle flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrender in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there. You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this. This letter, ghost, everything. You're blaming me again? And you can't just expect other people to fix the mess you made. You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who doesn't listen. All of you. If you've just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish. I'm the one who's selfish? Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry? This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came, because all you've gotten us is a headache. You know why I had to come here? My dad. Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem. Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something, but the moment Rebecca slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Yep. The cyclone has already begun. When Ashton showed up at the pub's main lounge again, he caught Rebecca and Isabelle in the middle of an argument. The latter insisted on going back to the mansion, which the former strongly opposed. However, before Ashton could step in, harsh words have already been said. Yes. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabelle sits there in silence, while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they're both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eye. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smouldering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break, until the ones at its centers do so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she's had a point. Isabelle, on the other hand, there has always been a certain stubbornness in her. As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it has gotten her through life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has, when you have nothing else, people tend to cling on to what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw, when a struggle turns useless, a kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabelle abruptly stands and marches towards the exit, in fast, rigid steps, away from the hurt and painful words they've left fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment. I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in a steady grip. Surprise fleets across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. Okay. Take Isabelle's side, agree with Rebecca. Oh my god, this is a lose-lose regardless of which decision you make. Take Isabelle's side, agree with Rebecca. Like, what the heck? What has this game become to? There's been a few of these moments where, regardless of which decision you're going to make, you're going to lose a bit of friendship with one person. But most decisions often cause only one character to either lose or gain in friendship. And always like to, well, if I was playing this properly without always taking the top route, then I'd always try and think this through and think which of these decisions will allow us to gain friendship rather than lose friendship. But this is one where it's either gain Isabelle, lose Rebecca, gain Rebecca, lose Isabelle. Yeah. You okay? Yep, that goes up and that goes down. You okay? Rather than answer, once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks, like she only noticed them in that moment. Then, without another word or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hands and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps on the chair Isabelle's just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a rigid exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say those things, though, and my disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth carving down to a tight frown. I cross my arm in response, waiting, a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything, not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture. What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me or I'm going back upstairs. Did you really have to say it like that? Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that. That was a low blow, Rebecca, even for you. We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There's no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do is stop her. Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better. Becca, she'll listen if you just ask her properly. I know you mean well and you do have a point, but please be a little bit more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while. By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent, or at least it's how it seems when a minute or two passes and she says nothing, a rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eye, one that quickly disappears until only a vague notion of it remains in memory. But in that one exchange, I caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, or what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were, and if it's for the better, we've yet to know. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. G's nowhere to be seen, people continue to trickle out instead of in, and by the time I get back only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon these people too will be gone, and the whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already leans the place of an entirely different vibe, along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead. There's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before, and perhaps it's for this reason why Isabelle has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, in one of the tables sat right beside the windows. G usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, outlining her small form and pulling on the surface of the table, where both her arms rest. Ah, it is the curse letter. In her hands she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it, yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bear myself to disturb it, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again, the rare ones, the ones where she's too still, too quiet, a complete opposite of her usual self, but it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short few seconds of wordless silence, when the softest sighs and the slightest movements seem louder. The smallest minuscule things that tell you about a person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me annoyed, and just like that all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibs. Back again to where we're used to. What's easy, what's familiar. Where every truth we hoped to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us. You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belly. But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe. Who wouldn't be? While I do agree with Rebecca, her words still hit below the belt. Regardless, Isabelle doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me, at least compared to every other people I've aggravated, intentionally or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this mood. Come on, if you also keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I don't really want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets. She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive, enough to drain every colour out of the room. It's as if I've just told a terrible joke, and she's expecting there'll be more of it. Really now? She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be. And I really don't care. I'll even take pictures and post them online. Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now. Yet it sounds half-hearted at best. Like what's happening has already sapped every bit of energy in her. And all that's left are the words. Pretty soon, those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already unusual to see her like this. Everything has already gone to blank. I'd like, at least, this one thing to stay normal. So somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of an hour, talking, joking, with a short, feeble responses to banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter when it finally rings, easing free of her burdens. Okay, I have another one. I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away. No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl. When you leave me alone, if I bite and I ask who, a pause, and then she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually setting on a glimpse. Oh? Suddenly she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she tries to contain. You're awful and I really hate you. Just leave. It's contagious, her mirth. Soon, I'm joining her in it, briefly forgetting every problem that's piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Laughing without reservation or care, until only a familiar warmth lingers, once both of our amusement ebbs away. Somehow with her, these things have always come easy. Feeling better? A little. You're still lame. But you're laughing right now. Only because your humour is terrible. Right, keep telling yourself that. I know it's funny. And you know what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked. That would have been really messy and ugly. If glares can kill, with what she sends my way, I'll probably be dead by now. Seeing it directed my way only takes a quick few seconds for me to realise how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears. How intentional it is. I've never been good with words, but that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? Suddenly taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated when correcting or explaining myself. Nevertheless, I try. Damn it. That was so not what I meant. I was just saying you look better when you were smiling. Her glare doesn't even whine. In fact, I think it intensified like a brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should... Thanks, Ash. She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet, but when I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the whole room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last stains of music fading into the silence above us. Instead, it's the meaning behind her gaze, as she holds mine that lingers, steady, unflinching, and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and expression softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy is it for her to wear her heart on her sleeve? How she never shies away from expressing herself, even amongst people she barely knows. How could she go through everything without losing herself? Now, it's a monster, hundreds, but thousands that hang unspoken between us. Trivial, little things with worth still too big to put into words. Either because it's too early, or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this will do, until the moment itself dwindles. until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we've set aside in its favour. Isabelle, about what happened with Rebecca earlier. She didn't have to say that. A small frown returns to her face. Small frown, sorry. Although it lacks the same anger from before, but bitterness stays. And you don't have to apologise for her. If she wants to say sorry, she has to do it herself. She has a point though. Yep. Isabelle freezes. In an instant, the pleasant air around us dissipates. She shifts her attention back to her hands again, both clenched so tightly that her knuckles visibly pale. I know, Ash. I just thought we'll find something in there. But if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe, right? It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have after all. But Rebecca also has a point I will agree with. No matter how desperate I am, it's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we find in there? If she comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. She'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. Exactly as I've told Zedge. If there's a need to go back to that cursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them will agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Saying, oh gosh, this is a tricky one. I can't let you do that. It's dangerous being a more generalistic approach. Would be more sensible than I can't let you do that because it's pointed directly at that person. Let's see. Relationship. That one there. So it's dangerous if we do that. And I think it drops a bit there. Would both of them drop? Forget it, Betty. You're not going back to that mansion. But Ash, what about... This isn't up for debate. Do you really think they'll just let you in? Do you really think they'll give a damn if we walk in there carrying that stupid letter of all things? No, but there has to be something we can tell them. Ash, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are. They're living in that place. That ghost woman came from there. That ghost woman came from there. But her and the letter. Something's in that house, Ash. And whatever it hides might be the only thing that'll get us out of this mess. Alright. Suppose you do find an answer there. What happens? Let's just say that by some dumb luck, you got inside and found something. What if we see her again? Or she goes after you? What are you going to do? It's not like we have any other choice. Besides, I'm pretty sure you've already thought of the same thing. Admit it. That doesn't mean I'm going to let you run straight into trouble. What you're planning to do is risky. For you. Give it up, Isabelle. Excuse me. Unexpectedly, Isabelle merely clams up. No resistance, no further argument like I've come to expect from her. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretched far too thin, till the air in the whole room grows awkward and suffocating. A standstill that'll get us nowhere. Although, if there's one thing our talk has wonderfully succeeded at, it's making me feel like a total blank and a hypocrite. And I am, considering my plans tonight. Sure, I can tell her, but what good would it do? I've already told Zach. One person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much will just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware, at least of where I'm heading off to, in case things don't pan out. Expect for worse. Even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. Isabelle doesn't need to be burdened with the worry my entire scheme entails. I like to think that, yes, to some extent, she understands. Even if she does not entirely agree with me, the demeanour is clear in her throat. Otherwise, her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it. Her lips won't be pressed in a thin line, or her hand will no longer be balled into fists. She wouldn't have pushed that argument. If she doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Maybe it's because she has already heard the same thing from Rebecca. Maybe my words have made her come to her senses. Either way, it's best that we simply leave it here for now. I stand up as soon as footsteps shuffle from the next room. It's cadence slow and hesitant. Shortly, Rebecca comes into view, clenching her hands firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty in her face. She casts me a cursory look, then shifts a nervous one to Isabelle, who studies her with an almost hopeful gleam in her eyes. Their fights never did last long. Betty, can we talk alone? Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad of it. Whatever kind of friendship I share with her too. This remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. I'm an outsider. They don't need me here. It's all the reason I need. Muttering an excuse, I beat a hasty exit out to the main lounge and leave them to mend things on their own. Yeah, that's the most sensible option you can do. When the spoils are just between two individuals, don't get involved. After scolding Rebecca for a harsh tone, a concerned Ashton followed after Isabelle. He found her alone in a corner of the lounge, upset. Despite agreeing with her, he insisted she would only put herself at risk by coming back. Although she acquiesced, dismay was clear in her face. Before Isabelle can say what she's been mulling over, before the last imploring glance she directs my way forces me to change my mind, it's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs the conscious amongst other things. Conscience. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself today. Go away, Charles' Monday night crowd. Although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight. With the lively music and chatter, sleeping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. Without much trouble, soon enough, I found myself standing outside under the chilly Luxburn night. A gust of wind picks up shortly after I step out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or two before it starts. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material close to my body, while I weave my way through the lines of empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinks in my pocket with each step I take, though I pay it no mind as I hurry towards my car. I nicked it minutes away from Isabelle's belongings on my way out. This is all connected. I need this damn piece of paper with me. However ridiculous it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be missed either. But I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. Regardless how generous that is, each second is just as important as the next. So I hurry, one footstep over another, echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. And it does, in the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. Rebecca turns just as I near, the corners of her mouth twitching up in a weary smile. She offers no greeting except for a slight tilt of her head. Even as my pace slows and I look at her, with all the unvoiced questions in my head, she remains wordless, merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention up at the starless sky when I come up to stand beside her. Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, weary, thick with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away when she hugs her arms closer to herself to keep warm, which raises the question why she's out here. The air's already heavy with the promise of rain, with clouds obscuring the view. There's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness. Still she stands here as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall. That, or she's here for some other reason. But before I could voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question. I'm not here to stop you. Whatever it is you're planning to go off tonight, I won't be able to. Anyway, you look like you've already made up your mind. Go back inside, it's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to get caught in it. I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here for a bit for some air, away from the noise in there. Everything's so being so chaotic these days. A little break is nice, even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot of all places. Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right? It'll be over soon. The confidence in my own words surprises even me. How do I know? Why am I so sure? When in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, if I don't find anything, we're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light drift sweeping around us. How I wish I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes. I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma. I can try, but you know, it also did a lot to us. Tell me about it. The back of my head still smartening from my fall last night. Not that kind. I'm talking about us as people. I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it can also brought out an ugly side to us. So it also brought out an ugly side to us, to all of us, and it made me realise plenty of things about myself, about us. Rebecca trails off. Suddenly a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless of times before, and every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by a memory, a silly story, or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Unlike me, who'll much rather forget it, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she makes, I know this is one of the times again. Do you remember that one time back in secondary? Which one? We did a lot of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point. Mandy. I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you kept her in contact with her. Are you guys friends now or something? Oh no, we do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch. But it's nothing like that. We're not friends, not in this lifetime, I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't ever be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day, and from then on, things have changed. She makes it sound like I'm some sort of hero. Mandy was in a wrong, of course. I'll defend her. If no one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are, it would have escalated, and who knows, maybe she would have stopped going to the school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I did because I know what I'm doing is what's right. It's as simple as that. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that, a fondness that goes beyond nostalgia. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this time I don't want this to go unsaid, you know, just in case something happens. Ash... Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I have always been in love with you. She says it so plainly, holding my gaze and in a voice too frank that her admission stuns me into silence, like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one foul swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought, as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues desperate to express everything she has kept to herself all these years. This is what the fondness is, why for her it weighs heavier than any feeling of nostalgia can carry. Since that time in secondary, since I made that promise to never leave, I have always truly loved you. Afterwards there is relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back at me though, there's nothing but hope in them, eyes that are searching for an answer. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I find myself gasping, scrambling for the words, because as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affection she's asking from me. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold for her feelings that goes beyond the boundaries of friendship. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad that she has stuck with me even through the toughest moments. Even when she finds me difficult or aggravating. However, it's really all there is to it. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more. Rebecca, I draw in a breath, rigid, unsure, uncertain how and which words to put together so it will hurt her less, so the wounds they might leave won't be as deep or scar. Though before I could even string two phrases together, she lifts her hand to my mouth and silences me. A smile's on her face, kind of in every single one I've seen from her so far. It's nice to see it on her. It suits her more than the glares or the frowns. But at the same time, it only serves to baffle me. You don't have to answer me. Yeah, but you should. I should. No, I mean, you don't need to. Okay, now I'm really confused. One moment you're saying you've been in love with me since secondary. Now you're telling me to shut up? If you want to interrupt it like that, alright. No, really. Some explanation would be nice, Becca. Because a lot of things are going on right now. And I'm afraid I can't catch up, especially with this curveball you just threw. It means what it means, Ashton. You don't need to answer me. I don't really need to hear it anymore. It's not that I don't want to. Believe me, if I were the same person I was before this whole thing happened to us, I'd be elated, excited even. But like I said, I also realised some things. Understood myself more. Change of heart. Ash, I did love you, ever since we were kids. All those times you defended me from bullies. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, even after this. But at the end of the day, once you took a closer look at everything, it also turned me into a really selfish person. When you think about it, maybe Ashton I loved isn't the one standing in front of me right now. Maybe all this time I'm still clinging to that aloof kid I met 17 years ago. I didn't even consider that you have a mind of your own, that one day it won't just be the two of us. Then you'll find someone else and it won't be me. I'm sorry, Becca. I'm not even sure what I'm apologising for, that I can't return her feelings, or because I'm somehow holding myself responsible for this. Even if up until now I have no idea how she felt, regardless she continues to smile through all of it. It's not your fault, don't say that. I'm the one who should apologise, since I suddenly sprung this up on you, when you have other things to do. I just thought I should let you know, so I can finally let this whole thing go. One question though, are you going to tell her? Tell what to who? I pause, frowning. A brief moment of doubt while I try to figure out what she's talking about all of a sudden. When it finally sinks in, though, my bewilderment hastily goes away to utter embarrassment. Oh? Oh, sheesh. Heat abruptly cools up on my face. No matter my efforts to keep it down, in the end I can only look away from her, afraid of what else she'll see in it. Did you really think no one would notice? What is it? Was it that obvious? It was surprisingly easy to tell, but that's probably because I've known you longer than anyone. Ugh, who else knows? I think Zach suspects. Sheesh. You're embarrassingly lame when you try too hard. It's almost painful to watch. Don't worry, with your terrible way of flirting and knowing her, I'm quite sure Betty has no idea. Even now, not even a clue. Hush, Rebecca. Really harsh. I could use a vote of confidence, you know. She laughs loud, the kind that's free of any burden, ringing above the wind slowly picking up as the storm clouds approach. With it, however, the awkward atmosphere lifts at last. There's only that camaraderie we've shared since meeting in that classroom 17 years ago. I'm serious, though. Tell her. And if you ever make her cry, I'll hit you with every damn history book I have on my shelf. Clear? Noted, ma'am. Anyways, thanks for hearing me out. I won't keep you long. I know you have other things to do. Just promise me you'll be careful, right? She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she gives me a push, with a force only heavy enough to throw me off balance. Caught unawares by the gesture for a few moments, I fight for purchase against my car's trunk, bracing up my hand on its smooth surface. When I look up with a string of repairments ready at the tip of my tongue, Rebecca's already halfway through the parking lot. I thought both Rebecca and Isabelle were talking to each other. Ashton left for the mansion at nightfall, but when he got to his car, he found Rebecca waiting for him. Fearing she might not have a chance, Rebecca confessed her feelings, but before he could answer, Rebecca stopped him, admitted she has been selfish, she was letting him go. She only wanted him to know. Nah. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie. When I look up, I show him blah, blah, blah. Okay, we've already been through that. There's a small skip in her steps, while the breeze carries the light tone she's whistling. On a whim, I'll let its notes be the last thing I commit to memory before slipping inside my car and driving off. It sounds like a new beginning, more than anything. Another reason to be optimistic. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxburn and headed straight for Alcem village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the back curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble seconds later, echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. November the 1st, Tuesday. The rain falling fast, steady sheets creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in the city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned to torrential. The long slog from Aslam village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag Wright has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property, although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself, under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks. I don't really have the luxury either, do I? Considering how off this place feels since I stepped into the property and the mansion came into view, every lights are off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself, it feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I pass it off as some kind of a power outage because of the storm. It's not a far off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong. Something happened here? Or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so. Moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables and what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at least, it's in a prison, not a morgue. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman, perhaps a servant, or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead. In fact, not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully, keeping to the shadows, one cautious step or another. Louder and louder it goes as I near, until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguish cry. I break into a run, one nervous hand ready on the gun, holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice of a woman and nothing. Abruptly it all stops, and I am met with a sudden hush, blank, empty, almost deafening in its stillness. Even with my laboured breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears, behind me, another branch breaks and
Help me.
help you. We do not want this. We heard this laugh, and that quote before many times. Dread surges within me while I spin round, to take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footsteps echo from the far distant, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp piercing notes of her tongue. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jar, scoff and deride. Over, it's because you didn't listen. And over, it's all your fault. And over again, why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I failed to do and of who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill saps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from wine. And let's just look at the branch tree. Skip up there, then across there. Somehow I skipped the story. There's no connection between that and that. Over here, across here, up there, down here. Aha, choices now. There's a new fear. Once again her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. What the heck is this? Some sort of prison dungeon? Somewhere in the mansion. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open. The soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remain still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Why the heck are we here? That is the next question. The storm had started in earnest when Ashton arrived at the mansion. While trying to find a way in, the detective noticed the eerie silence that has enveloped the place. Something was wrong inside, but before he could figure it out, the sobs of a woman suddenly echoed, and somehow we were magically teleported in here. Blanky blank 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 blank. From there we is that a choice there? No, it's not. It's just a piece of dialogue. Nothing. Red. Hovering. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause. Sheesh. I hope I didn't break anything. Blank. There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I was scheduled down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful, and by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning hardly on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthly smell of rain from the top side. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place. A mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul, like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside of some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to dive into at the moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the evidence of this place is, it isn't too surprising. I wonder if Scumbag knows about this. Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably block at this, move out at the first opportunity and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me feel real as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, is just the tip of the iceberg. I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that letter. But fear's inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this place is, this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. And taking one last gulp of the clean air, I'll push away from the wall and dive deeper into the passage. Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on. Turns out, it is for the most part. The path really deviates, no sharp turns or branching routes. Just a long, empty hallway stretching out before me, filling with nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. The only problem is having an overactive imagination, and walking amidst a place shadowed by death. Every sound, every sudden movement, even the faintest of it, spurs it. At the times, there are scampering small noises that abruptly rises above my footfalls. Sounds like bats, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away as swiftly as it rang. It's probably just some animal. A rat, maybe? I hope. I pause, nevertheless, straining my eyes for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tense to ease out of me, in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole place. Things continue like this as I traverse the whole passage, pausing, listening, moving on, repeat, eventually losing track of time when I'll go deeper into the tunnel, until finally the corridor ends with the sight of light slanting from a door left ajar. On the other side, from whatever little glimpse the opening offers, I spy bottles lining the walls and liqueur barrels for aid. Oh, is this within the wine cellar? Yes, I sense that. Right into the kitchen then. Wait, is this going to be the place where they're going to discover Marianne? More than eager to get out of this place, I quicken my pace, but as soon as the door within the arm's reach as I push it open, a foul, putrid scent assaults my senses. A heady mixture of odours, akin to a rotting fruit and decaying meat, that catches me completely off guard. Surprised, I stumble back, gagging, having accidentally breathed a lungful of it, only for my foot to end up disturbing the edge of a nearby puddle I failed to notice earlier. It sends splashes of liquid right across the hems of my pants, and I fight the urge to grimace, as a raw metallic smell rises up in the air, a smell I'm already more than familiar with, thank you very much. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Sighing, I take a brief moment to embrace myself before crossing the threshold, already expecting the worst. The trail of dark liquid leads me to it. Its form is slumped against a wine vat, not too far from the door. The rank lingers heavier here, stronger. Putrefaction has just started, but in a place like this you can't really tell the time of death from that alone. The humidity and temperature in this room has slightly decayed the process. An estimate. This person has died sometime around 3 to 5 days ago, which places the timeline around the time people are just moving in and also the housewarming party. A servant man? No. Someone with the same social status as Wright. Whoever it is has also read the letter, based on the writings around the body. Someone who was also present during the open house and the party. So a guest? Wordless, I draw closer, muttering a quiet prayer under my breath for the departed. The least I can do now is figure out who it is, and try to find his or her family once I'm done here. Let them know what has become of their kin. Even though the layers are close, its shoulder feels too close to my touch. Somehow, despite not being new to this, it still sends a nauseating chill to my stomach. Maybe it's because this time I know exactly why this person died. Another incorrect causality of this curse. Ignoring the dread, gently I give the blazer a pull. Oh my gosh. It's been a long time, Marianne. Unexpectedly her head lolls back, twisted, converted, severed. It dangles. It dangles from one side to the other before setting at an odd angle. The next thing I know, I'm staring at the hollow back of her neck, with only a thin layer of skin keeping her severed head to her body. But more than the grim sight or a sickening feeling that has lurched upon my throat, it is recognition. I know this woman. Not just anyone I see randomly on the streets. She's the same one I've met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employees. Marianne, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now, with her throat sliced viciously in half and her whole body drenched in her own blood. Yes. After his fall, Ashton found himself in an underground passage when he finally came to. Despite the questions in his head pushed on, the passage eventually led him right into the mansion's wine cellar. But inside is Marianne. Once the surprise subsides, I muster the courage to properly lie her down, closing her eyes and covering her face with my handkerchief. It's perhaps the kindest gesture I can offer her right now, pressed for time as I am. So if I chose the other choice to leave the wine cellar rather than staying here with Marianne, we wouldn't have seen that cutscene. But for someone to suffer this kind of death, in the end the only thing I'm able to do is avert my gaze and continue with my plans. Surreal. It's all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages? I can't bring myself to vocally question anything anymore, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid I used to crave for this kind of adventure, the stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. You really believe it'll be that easy, don't you? I pause mid-step, confused, wary. I look around, searching wildly for the source. A long minute passes. No one speaks again. Breathing out a sigh of relief, I simply continue, this time treading lightly, careful not to make a sound. Up ahead, I can already glimpse a set of stairs. This must lead to the kitchen. Getting unnoticed in a wine cellar is not a problem, but if someone's upstairs when I pop up, well, to say it'll be complicated might be a little of an understatement, especially if that butler's in there. If I get caught, no one else will be able to fix this. See? So full of yourself, aren't you? This time I'm sure there's really a voice. Well, voices. Despite standing only a few places away from the exit, I found myself stopping and looking for it. Searching the immediate surrounding from a familiar form of a woman, I don't even have to venture too far from where I'm standing. Just an arm length away from me a mirror stands, and from it they speak, all singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo through the small undercough, murmurs and laughter, lacing venom to every crevice in my head, taunting me. Look at you, mouthing off like some hero. You can't even fix your own silly little problems. You haven't really changed, have you? Useless. Pathetic. You're wrong. My mistake lies in the first instance I've answered, but the very second denial have slipped from my mouth. Their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at arouse my temper. Despite knowing they are merely doing this to glod me, each word, every syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hope I've long buried. Are we? Or is it simply what you've been telling yourself all this time? Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps? You're the one who took that letter off Isabelle's hand that day. You're the one who opened it. How does it feel, I wonder, to know you're responsible for all of this? What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this? Oh, but you can't. It's already too late, and you know that. You know all of this is futile. Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who has to pay for it. A badge and gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve the case for the old man. Can't even bring Luke Wright to justice. Can't even keep his own family together. No wonder they left you before you did the same thing to them. Mum and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense. Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are. You might as well just throw all of that rank away. You're no use to people either way. Shut it. I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity, it knows. To hear it say in my friend's voice, even more so. But what I hate above all of this, it is, you know it's true, bro. All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now? No matter how no matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to save anyone. Shut it. Not a single word anymore. In the end, your own incompetence will eventually lead to the death of everyone you care about. It laughs sharp and piercing at its sounds. Something in me snaps. A rage hastily, unfoolingly red, filling my vision. And the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand and my fist connects to its surface. It shatters, renting the air with an ear-splatting crack, sending fragments on the floor. The fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses, all at once. There is this deafening silence. Slowly I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liqueur, the faint old scent of death and decay somewhere, and the small cuts at the back of my fingers. Blood drips from each digit, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve or falls to the floor. Not too deep, neglectable, even. There is a pain, however, a different kind. An ache somewhere else that stems not far from the wound, but where every single word is hit. On the ground, shards lie lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults, but even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears. It's useless, Ashton Frey. You are going to die, and you are going to die alone. Never let the fear consume you, because that's their way of possessing your very rational thoughts. Before he could go deeper into the wine cellar, Ashton began to hear voices coming from a mirror, mocking him for his failures. It hit a sore spot in him, and in losing his temper, he smashed the mirror with his own fist. One that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart. One that is a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It isn't even locked, probably left open for when the right asks for some midnight snack. I'll make sure the closet is clear, of course, before I pull myself up. And that, folks, is where we're going to end off today's video. So thank you very much for watching, and we're going to see each other next time on the letter where we're going to go further into the Ermengarde Mansion. Have a good day and take care of yourselves.